Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be covering the 2024 Notre Dame Fighting Irish as we continue along with our 2024 college football preview series. As always, before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We are cribbing up on 1,100 subscribers. We're going to be doing another giveaway at 1,500. We already gave away a Charlie Ward jersey and a signed Tim Tebow jersey. So please join our family, join our community, talk football with us on a daily basis for a chance to win the jersey as well. With that being said, let's talk about Notre Dame and our predictions from last season.
What do we do? Oh, this was an early one too, huh?
Yeah, kind of weird. You gave a prediction. I just said floor and ceiling in that video. So obviously we're going to start getting to a point where, the bigger name teams, when we start going to the Louisvilles and, the smaller schools that had success last year that we previewed, we had firm predictions for. So this one was kind of a weird one for me. I said 11-4, or 8-4 and 11-1. So it's definitely weird. But you obviously 10-2 was your prediction. How do you feel about them? Obviously, we went to the Notre Dame Clemson game in Death Valley. How do you feel about their season last year?
Yeah, I think we expected more from Sam Hartman. He only gave us 24 touchdowns, under 3,000 yards. I think we both probably thought he was going to really break out. That receiving core was an issue. When your leading receiver Tyree is under 500 yards, you're not getting good production out of your receiving core. Estime played great, over 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, but that's really the only reliable resource they had with that offense last year. The defense played great. That secondary is legit. They're going to be legit again this year. So the defense played. Again, it just seemed like Sam Hartman and those young receivers never really clicked. It never really took off like we thought they were. I think we both thought Sam Hartman was going to come in and really revolutionize this Notre Dame offense, and it never happened last year. What's your thoughts on how they did last year?
So I think they underperformed mightily. If those of you guys were here, no guinea pig clips. A lot of the other Notre Dame fans who found our channel last year, I was very high on Sam Hartman moving over to Notre Dame. I thought he would, boost his draft stock, which he didn't. I thought they would throw the ball a lot more. We saw early on in the year against the Navy, Tennessee State, Central Michigan, them throwing the ball all over the place. But as soon as they started hitting the bulk of that schedule, they went right back to Notre Dame football. Audric Estime was their only form of offense throughout the end of the year. We're really to the middle to the end. You had, Jaden Greathouse, who broke out early as a true freshman, and now he's coming back. But a lot of those receivers ended up leaving. I think, losing a lot of offensive line, which we'll talk about there as well. I don't know how I feel about this team. I think Sam Hartman was a far more talented thrower of the football than Riley Leonard is. Now, I do think Riley Leonard maybe fits this team a little bit better, given that he doesn't have to throw the ball crazy. He has a little bit more run ability than Sam Hartman had, and we've already seen the bring in a mesh style quarterback, throw the ball over the place. Quarterback is not going to fit with this type of offense and this type of team. So Marcus Freeman went and got Riley Leonard, who had a decent season, obviously battled injuries, but he single-handedly really beat Clemson last year with his legs. So I do think that this team has some question marks coming in. I don't know how I feel, entirely, because there's a lot of question marks. Obviously, they're coming as a top 10 team according to ESPN FPI with a projected win loss of 10-2 pretty much. We'll talk about their schedule here in a bit, but obviously last year lost the Ohio State game, and really one of the thrillers of the season, one of the best games that I watched personally last year. The Louisville game, in my opinion, was a shocker, even though I had Louisville really good last year. I didn't expect them to lose that game. And then the Clemson game was really a thriller as well. Obviously, we got to storm the field after, so that was very fun. We went to that game. And then the big-time win against Oregon State in the bowl game after, obviously, Oregon State's coach left, DJU set out, so I don't put too much stock into that. But moving on to kind of their additions, returners, everything like that, I think what immediately stands out to me in this screen is you lost a lot of your playmakers. Obviously, you talked about, their secondary. They bring back Benjamin Morrison, in my opinion, is a top 5 corner in the country. But you lose Cam Hart, and he was equally as good. Chris Tyree and Tobias Merriweather both leave. Merriweather goes to Cal. Tyree goes to Virginia, so they both go to ACC schools. Rico Flores transferred out as well. Holden Stays transferred out. And then obviously you lose Alt and Fisher to the draft, and the Cam Hartman, and then Estime, which are do it all back last year. Like we talked about it a second ago, Jaden Greathouse does come back, and you bring back your leading sack or tackler, in Jack Kaiser, and then Jordan Patello out of Hawaii. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this team shapes, bringing in Riley Leonard, as well as a Bo Collins from Clemson and a Chris Mitchell from FIU. I don't personally think Bo Collins and Chris Mitchell can go in and replicate what was done offensively for Notre Dame, because Notre Dame is not a throwing team. So even though I think Bo Collins is a more talented
Now Bo
receiver,
Collins was a 5-star guy, right?
yes, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to fit into
No, I
this
agree.
team, because I do think you have, being that Bo Collins went there, it was surprising to me because Bo Collins was in a situation that Clemson threw the ball. They are a passing type team. Well, more passing than Notre Dame would be. So I don't think Riley Leonard has the same arm ability as Cade Klubnik or any other school that he could have went to. So it's kind of interesting to me why he would go there. He's not going to boost his draft stock by going there. And I don't know kind of where he stands as far as the depth chart goes. I would assume he's going to be a starter, but so many receivers transferred out of Notre Dame. I think his name is Braylon Jones or Braylon Smith. I think one of those two last names. He transferred out of Notre Dame as well. So really, there was like 4 or 5 receivers that left Notre Dame last year, and you bring in 2 guys, and then obviously bring in 4-star wide receiver Cam Williams. I just don't know what the offense is going to look like, given that you lose 6 to 7 starters on your offense, and then you're bringing in a guy like Riley Leonard who's coming off of injury season. You bring in a guy like Bo Collins who got his job taken, and then FIU's Chris Mitchell, who obviously was at a lower tier school in a group of 5. Can he come in and produce at this level? We'll have to see.
Yeah. So Braylon James is the guy you were talking about.
Okay, James.
So my concern is Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard, even when he played, obviously had the high ankle sprain, as Stephen has mentioned, and missed a good portion of last season. But he wasn't great. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Barely. He was under 60% completion percentage. The year before, the year that we really lean on, he had under 3,000 yards passing, 20 touchdowns. So it's not like he's put up great numbers. But like you said, Stephen, he's able to do it in different ways specifically than Sam Hartman. He can extend plays with his legs, and really that's what you're going to kind of need. My concern is not the offensive line. You talked about Joe Alt and Blake Fisher leaving, but Notre Dame just seems to have offensive linemen. I'm sure they're going to be able to restock. My concern is Estime leaving. I think he meant so much to that offense. I truly don't know if Love can replace Jeremiah Love can replace what Estime meant to that team. Where I feel good about this team, I think this is one of the best secondaries in football. You mentioned Benjamin Morrison. You got to also talk about Xavier Watts. They brought over Jordan Clark, as you have listed. So this may be one of the better secondaries in college football next year. And you mix that with some of the other players that they have returning that you've mentioned. I think this is going to be a very good defense. Notre Dame is going to kind of play that power run behind our big offensive line. Riley Leonard extend plays, don't make mistakes offense, and really turn it over to what I think is going to be a great defense. Like I said, like you mentioned, Benjamin Morrison may go into next year as the top DB. Xavier Watts is one of the top safeties in college football next year. Jordan Clark coming over is a heck of a player at safety as well. So this is a very good defense. And I know we're going to talk about it here shortly. I think they have a pretty favorable schedule next year where they're really catching some teams at perfect times, and they're catching some teams at home games versus away games.
Okay, you hit the nail right on the head. Before we get into the schedule, though, I do want to say again, I cannot see my dad's prediction at all, and he cannot see mine. We have the same exact prediction. I think this is the second time this year in the preview series, the exact same top to bottom, floor, ceiling, losses, wins, everything. I want to hit on something. As much negativity that I've spewed for Notre Dame so far, and really I don't think it's negative. It's just me being critical about them. I think Notre Dame is a blue blood. They are a powerhouse, and we are expecting them to be better in the big time games. I do have this team going 11-1. If Notre Dame does not make the playoffs this year after this schedule, then we need to talk about Marcus Freeman's job. The reason being, they have 9 of 12 home games.
Yeah.
You have 9 home games, and you have 7 or 6 of them in a row.
Yes.
And all of those home games, you are going to be probably, other than the Florida State game, every other home game, you're going to be probably double-digit favorites in.
Yes.
All of your home games except Florida State. You're probably going to be a double-digit favorite against Purdue, and you're probably going to be a double-digit favorite against USC as well.
Now, To counter that point, looking at the schedule, you have 3 hard games. I would say that Texas A&M, that Florida State, and USC. The way that breaks out, though, 2 of those games are away.
Yeah, but I don't think. I mean, obviously the A&M game is the one we have them losing. That game is
Yes.
in my opinion, is the toughest game on the schedule.
Yes.
I think Florida State is the second. I think with what we don't know about USC and how piss poor they were defensively last year,
Yeah.
how Notre Dame handled them last year
Yeah.
in last year's game,
Embarrassed him.
and we're talking about a team that had a Caleb Williams, had a Mario Williams, had a Dorian Singer, a Brandon Rice. All of these players, they had
Yeah.
them last year. You're only bringing back Zachariah Branch from that offensive unit. So I don't know if we just talked about how great this Notre Dame defense is going to be. I think this is a top 5 to 10 defense in college football. I don't think USC, for one, is going to be able to stop their offense. And I don't think USC is going to be able to move up and down the field against this Notre Dame defense.
Now, the one game in there that I did not mention, I mentioned 3. The one game in there that's concerning is also that Louisville game.
Yes.
But the reason I felt comfortable with that, so that's the 4th game that makes up my floor.
Me too.
4 losses for my floor. The reason I felt so comfortable with that is that game is in Notre Dame. So yeah, this schedule, almost a crime again to have 9 home games, only 3 away games. And then again, especially with this being the 12-team playoff, dropping one of those really what I would call 2 tough away games, dropping one of those, whether it be Texas A&M or USC, obviously we picked Texas A&M, doesn't really hurt you. I suspect that they are going to be in the playoffs. And again, I think this team has holes, especially offensively. I don't think Riley Leonard is a great thrower of the ball, but I think he might be a good fit for Notre Dame. I think losing Estime is a big deal. I don't think Love can just replicate that. I think this receiving core is not great, but I think this schedule just breaks for them perfectly. I think that secondary and that defense is really good, and I think that allows them to kind of gel, and they kind of, I don't want to say skate, because again, you're still playing college football teams, but they can kind of roll into an 11-1 season.
I'm going to be honest. If they beat A&M, I think Notre Dame is going to be undefeated. I mean, I think, you can lose a USC, matchup. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world to me if they lost. I wouldn't be completely shocked, but I had previously said that if I had to bet my money on one team getting in the playoffs and I'd be the most comfortable, it was Utah. I'm looking at the schedule like this. Notre Dame is the safest bet to get in the playoffs this year. Like I think even if Notre Dame goes 10-2, they're still like between the 10 and 15 spot. Now, I will say, even if Notre Dame goes undefeated, I'm not sure if Notre Dame fans know this or college football fans know this, but even if Notre Dame goes undefeated and they're the only team that's undefeated in the entire college football, the highest seed they could be is 5.
5, yeah.
Because they cannot have a top 4 seed.
Yeah, they top 4 seeds go to the top 4 ranked conference champions. Notre Dame, obviously not in a conference, cannot be a conference champion, which means they cannot have a bye in the first round of the playoffs. They will have to play in the first round of the playoffs, but they can be the 5 seed and host that game.
Yeah, it's actually criminal to me, this schedule. It doesn't make, like, when I was typing it out, making this slide, I'm like, okay, versus Stanford, versus Georgia Tech, versus Navy. I got to Florida State. I'm like, where the hell are the home games at? Or the away
games, yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? And then I'm looking at, I'm like, if they're able to creep up, I don't even say creep up, if they're able to beat A&M, I think they're going to be favored.
Because let me say this, and obviously you see the ceiling. I wouldn't be shocked if they beat A&M. I think that's very possible. I just think week 1 college football, Texas A&M, they have a pretty good team coming back. If you guys seen, and I'm sure if you're on this page, your college football 25 fans, Texas A&M home crowd was ranked number 1 for stadium atmosphere. So that crowd is going to be rocking. And there's a lot of newness to this Notre Dame offense. But would I be shocked if they beat Texas A&M? Not at all. Not at all. That game is really like a 52-48 for me. That one could have went either way. And then, I feel pretty good about the rest of the schedule. The only games that gave me pause was Louisville, because I think they'll be good. What you said about USC is exact. I felt pretty confident that Notre Dame could use the same formula they used last year to go beat up on USC, a team that's not good in the trenches. I think Notre Dame is going to continue to be good in the trenches. And then the next scariest game for me was Florida State. But the fact that that game's in Notre Dame is the only thing that really made me favor Notre Dame in that game.
Yeah, that Florida State game is going to be really fun to watch. Obviously, Clemson played Notre Dame last season. I want to see the same type of game, really close, maybe even overtime type game from Florida State, Notre Dame. I was very high on Louisville last year. We're gonna preview them next. I don't consider Louisville a threat to Notre Dame this year. I think they crept up on Notre Dame last year, and I think Notre Dame is going to make a statement against Louisville this year.
Now, I do have a quick question, and only because I know you know this or you know him better than I would. Can Bo Collins be a number one receiver? Does he have that potential ability?
I mean, it's hard to say. He was technically the number one receiver coming into Clemson this year. But I think he's inconsistent. I mean, he's a big body guy, like 6'3", 6'4". So he has the tools, he has the the size and the intangibles to be, but I just don't know if on a consistent basis he can be, because we had true freshman guys come in and take his spot. And like you said, he was a 4 or 5-star guy who played with DJU, came over with him, and still lost his job. So it's kind of hard to say, and I don't know how he's going to translate to a Notre Dame offense that really doesn't throw the ball around a bunch. I mean, I think, like I said, he's a big body guy. So in situations where you need to throw the ball up, he can be that guy. And then maybe he's a good blocking type guy. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. He's trying to boost his stock maybe. And he also went to a situation where he's going to be in the playoffs. So I don't think Clemson is in a good of a situation as Notre Dame is to make the playoffs next year. And that's it coming from a Clemson fan. But again, I think Louisville is not a threat to Notre Dame this year. I said it last year that they're going to be good, but I think Notre Dame is going to have that game circled after losing that game by 13 last year, with it being at home too. I just think this team is in a prime position to make the playoffs, and hopefully when they get to the playoffs, like I said, Marcus Freeman can rally them and they win a big time game, because it's been a while since I feel like they've won a big time game. Obviously been to playoffs a few times, big time games, and come up short. But Notre Dame fans in the comment section, let us know what you guys think. What is your expectation for this team? Is this the year for you guys to go win a national championship with Freeman? Is Riley Leonard the answer after Sam Hartman leaving? Let us know, and also subscribe to the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We're going to be previewing Louisville next, and we will see you guys then. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.